It's U of L Today on 93.9 The Ville. Here's your host, Mark Hebert.
And welcome to U of L Today with Mark Hebert on 93.9 The Ville. We're so glad you're joining us. As you know, this show is about all things U of L except for athletics, except on a few occasions. So we're going to be talking about research, students, great things going on at the University of Louisville, and give you some idea of what's happening at your university in Louisville, Kentucky, U of L. What have we got coming up on today's 30-minute show? Well, there's lots of bacteria in your gut. I don't know if you knew that or not, but you do now. A U of L researcher has found that gut bacteria isn't just impacting what's going on in your stomach, it's impacting your brain and maybe your memory. Dr. Rob Freeland will be here to talk about it. But first, U of L's College of Education and Human Development is not only turning out the most well-trained teachers in Kentucky, it's also training soldiers at Fort Knox, offering a sports administration degree, and a host of community engagement programs with JCPS. And here to talk about all that's going on in the College of Education and Human Development is Ann Larson, who is the dean. Hello, Ann.
Good morning, Mark. It's a pleasure to be here.
How you doing?
Doing well, thank you.
All right. Well, let's chat a little bit about the College of Education and Human Development. How big is it? How many employees you got? And what do you do?
Sure. Well, the College of Education and Human Development at U of L is, we have about 3,200 students. We have about 100 faculty. We have a large staff. We have over 100 programs in the college. Half of our college prepares teachers and principals and superintendents, and half of our college has programs in human development, human performance, organizational leadership, and learning.
But I think the main thing folks think about, when they think of the College of Education, is what they normally call it, is training teachers, right? The teachers of tomorrow. So
Absolutely.
What is different about the way the University of Louisville is teaching teachers these days versus, say, 20 years ago or whenever you started in the field?
Sure, great question. One of the things I think that's most unique now about the preparation of teachers, and something we do at the University of Louisville, is what we call a clinical model of teacher preparation. And that's very similar to a medical model wherein our teacher candidates are immersed in schools, just as medical doctors are immersed immediately in hospitals, teaching hospitals. We call our partnership schools in JCPS sort of clinical sites for teacher preparation, or teaching of teacher schools. So our candidates begin immediately when submitted to the program. We call our students our candidates. They begin with very high qualified cooperating teachers. Our faculty teach courses on site in the schools. We have partnerships obviously with JCPS and with OVEC, the Ohio Valley Education Cooperative surrounding Louisville. So we have urban, rural placements for our candidates. They get a wealth of experience.
So are these just grad students that we're talking about, or are these like sophomores and juniors at U of L are going out and actually in a classroom in a Jefferson County public school?
Yes, to both. They are
Okay.
undergraduates and graduates. We have an undergraduate teacher preparation program, a Bachelor of Science. We also have a Master of Arts in Teaching, which is a graduate level certification where you can come after you have a major in a content area or an affiliate area and become a teacher at the graduate level. So we have both.
And the purpose of that model is what? Just getting them out of the classroom, getting them out of the U of L classroom and into a real classroom so they learn what they're doing once they graduate? Is that the deal?
Absolutely, Mark. We have a sort of a theme in our college. We call our theme Shaping Tomorrow, Ideas to Action. And so we focus on three constructs of sort of preparation of our educators. One is inquiry, which is about knowledge. So there's the theory part. The second is action, which is practice, and that's where the theory and the action have to sort of coincide very early for the teacher candidates in classrooms in real world settings. And then advocacy, which is making a positive difference in the lives of children.
We're talking with Ann Larson, who's the Dean of the College of Education and Human Development at the University of Louisville. We're talking about CEHD, as those of us who work at U of L call it. There's also quite a partnership with Jefferson County Public Schools. You mentioned it briefly. Why don't you talk about that a little bit and why that's so important to both JCPS, the parents and students there and to U of L?
Well, certainly. Louisville, University of Louisville has a very long-standing and symbiotic relationship with the Jefferson County Public Schools. I came to U of L in 1995 for that reason, from Kansas originally through Illinois, University of Illinois, and knew when I was in my doctoral program there about the reputation of the relationship between the university and Jefferson County Public Schools. So we have a program at U of L that most are familiar with called the Signature Partnership Initiative. It's part of President Ramsey's vision to have the community outreach in each of our colleges and our schools at U of L. So we work very closely with Jefferson County Public Schools, J.B. Atkinson Academy of Excellence Elementary, Cochran Elementary, Portland Elementary, Westport Middle School, Seneca High School, Central High School, and Shawnee High School, the Academy at Shawnee. And so all of those are sort of in our SPI network. They're either SPI schools or affiliate schools.
Now, some of those schools are have a large number of low-income kids. Are the students from U of L learning something different when they go teach at one of those signature partnership schools in Jefferson County than they are when they go to, say, Shelby County schools?
Yes, they are, Mark. They are learning to be culturally responsive. They are learning pedagogies and practices and skills that will help students, P-12 students, close achievement gaps. They are learning about teaching children and adolescents resiliency skills. We call it
Don't get in fights.
Cross-cultural competence.
Don't get violent.
Make good choices, right. So the content piece is very important. The assessment piece is very important. But the responsiveness to the whole child is very important as well. And so this clinical immersion in this clinical model, particularly in the SPI sites, the school sites, and the rotations our candidates have in those sites, really does give them urban preparation for what we call priority or high-need schools.
I'm going back almost, more than 20 years when the Education Reform Bill was passed in Kentucky, and there was a lot of talk about teachers' use of technology, that teachers at the time at least, and I don't know, maybe now still, weren't using technology enough in the classrooms to teach kids, and that's how kids learn these days because they're used to using their iPhones now. Has that gotten better over the years? And teaching teachers how to use technology in their classrooms to make kids learn or to help kids learn?
Yes, it has, and it's essential to part of their knowledge skills development as emerging teachers. So again, we partner with teachers and with principals in the schools, so the candidates get technology instruction at U of L, but they really have to apply it and use it with kids to understand sort of that next level. And kids are so knowledgeable about using technology.
More than their teachers,
more than their
and you
teachers
and I, I'm
often,
sure.
Absolutely. So we have, for example, a partnership with Westport Middle School where a couple of our faculty, Dr. Penny Howell and Dr. Caroline Sheffield, have been using iPads with teacher candidates who then go out into classrooms with kids and use those iPads for instruction and then kind of come back together in the U of L classroom and reflect on, what have the kids taught them? Where are the gaps? What can we do to further their technology knowledge? And the social media influence is so new as well, and that is just such a part of instruction these days.
Are the 23-year-old teachers of today better than the 23-year-old teachers of 10, 15 years ago?
Better's an interesting qualifier. I would call them more classroom ready. When I learned to become a teacher, you sort of were assigned to a cooperating teacher who maybe said, "Here's my classroom, I'll be here, but if you need me, I'm down the hallway." Well, now there's more of a co-teaching model. So again, sort of like a medical model for the preparation of teachers, where the student teachers, the field experienced students, are working alongside their classroom teacher, and they're co-teaching, and they're working together with the kids in pull-out groups and in instruction in the classroom. So I think that candidates today are more classroom ready. I think they've had a broader exposure, and that clinical immersion, I think, has made them much more sort of ready to take on that first year of teaching, which is very demanding.
All right, and U of L doing a better job, I'm assuming, of hitting those marks.
We are
teachers.
certainly trying. We believe so. We do solicit feedback from our employers, of our candidates, the principals, superintendents, the co-op experts in the district consortia, and so we take that feedback very seriously. We have advisory boards with teachers and principals on them, and when we hear that we're not doing something the way we need to be doing it, we respond.
Okay. We're sitting here with Ann Larson, who is the Dean of the College of Education and Human Development at the University of Louisville. We've been talking mainly about teacher training and the students who are going into teaching. Let's talk about some of the other programs you've got going on, which there's a bunch of them, frankly. There's a collaboration with Fort Knox and the Army to do training and teaching of the soldiers down at Fort Knox. Describe that a little bit. Tell us what that is, Ann.
Sure, Mark. Well, this initiative is the Fort Knox Cadre and Faculty Development course that's going on this summer. We call it CFDC for short. Dr. Jeff Sun is the department chair of the Educational Leadership Evaluation and Organizational Development
I think he needs a longer title.
He does.
I absolutely
Dr.
think he needs
Sun Eliod, right? But anyway, that program is in operation now and has about 380 some participants in it at Fort Knox this summer, with faculty from U of L and from all over the country who are affiliated with us in this program to prepare ROTC commanders at universities and across the country to become leaders and to use what we know about learning and pedagogy to further advance the skills and knowledge of kids in those programs.
We actually met a few of them when they were actually on our Belknap campus, and there were a couple of guys from Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin, I think, and they said that this was very valuable, that they could learn, new teaching skills, not just, how to be an Army guy, but how to be a teacher more in the classroom.
Absolutely.
And so that's what they were going through.
And the military is very focused on that. In going to Fort Knox and hearing the leadership, the commanding leadership at Fort Knox talk about sort of their theory of military practice and learning, they are very keen on education. And so we feel very fortunate to partner with Fort Knox.
And sports administration, that we affectionately call SPAD. What is that?
Sport administration is a program, and it's one of our more highly visible programs, and is nationally acknowledged and recognized. It is in our Health and Sports Sciences department, and it prepares students for a variety of fields in sport administration, in the business of sports, for athletic directorships, and so forth. And at present, we have 23 students and 5 faculty and staff in Amsterdam. They left today. They are very engaged in an initiative in Amsterdam to travel with the European Athletic Championships, and they are attending the championships, which take place every 2 years in a city in Europe. And so we're proud of the group. They last year graduated 26 students. They're a very vibrant and good group.
And I know it's a not a huge program, but it's a very renowned program in Kentucky. I know when I talk to kids that they're trying to figure out what they want to be when they grow up, they mention the SPAD program at the University of Louisville, and they come to the school just for that. So
absolutely. We have kids from all over the country in that program.
Is it mainly athletes that do that, or is it students from, that might be business majors and just happen that they want to do something else?
Absolutely. It's a very diverse group of students. Background-wise, ethnicity, gender, yes, they come from all walks of life, disciplines. We have students in the program who have law degrees. We have students that come from business, students who are very interested in athletics, have that very strong background. So indeed.
And one of those athletes, Kelsey Worrell, who is now going to the Olympics, she's in your program, correct?
She is in the exercise physiology program, which is also was in that program.
She graduated.
Yes, indeed. So we're very proud of Kelsey and her accomplishments to go to the U.S. Olympics to represent on the swim team.
That doesn't hurt to have a person like that representing your college, does it?
Absolutely. Or the University of Louisville.
And she's a darn good student. I think she graduated with a 3.6 or 3.7 grade point.
Very strong academic student. Yes, we're very proud of her.
All right. A couple other things that I wanted to talk about with you was the Child Development Center and the research that's going on in that field for young children. What is the College of Education Human Development doing in that area?
So the Child Development Center that's affiliated with our college is known as the Early Learning Campus, also affiliated with the Scholar House in Louisville. Dr. Jill Jacoby Vessels is the director of that, who's a faculty member in our college in early childhood education. That is also a clinical site for the preparation of early childhood teachers, similarly to what we talked about with JCPS and our OVEC partnerships. So Jill has birth to 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and in the early learning campus. And there's a method called the Emilio Reggio method of early childhood development. And the children there work with their teachers in that method of learning. It's very experiential, very hands-on, very inquiry based. Very individualized to the children, but also sort of teaches them the values of collaboration and teamwork.
So it's a dual role then for the Child Development Center. One, it's a place for folks to take their kids, and it's a preschool program, for lack of a better
Indeed.
term. And then it's also serving as a laboratory for UofL to do some research and see what teaching methods are best. Is that
Absolutely. And Jill just finished an endeavor called the PNC Fellows, which had the PNC generously funded this partnership that supports young or teacher candidates in early childhood education who are using the arts and other sort of the humanities areas to help the children learn content and to express themselves through painting and music and theater. There is going to be a summer oasis classroom the week of July 18th, and the fellows, the early childhood students, and Jill and another colleague will be engaged in that. So we're excited about that initiative, which also involves some research.
We've got about a minute left or so. We're talking with Ann Larson, who's the Dean of the College of Education and Human Development at UofL. What would you say to folks who say, teaching is such a tough profession now. I don't know that I want to go into that, or I don't know that I want my kid to go into that. What would you tell them?
Well, I'm a little biased, having been a former classroom teacher. I think it's the profession of professions. Teaching is the key to life's opportunities. Our building is named after Woodford Porter, and in our lobby there's a mural, a photo of him and his wife Harriet, and there's a phrase he used that education is the great equalizer. And I think it's a noble profession. Most professions are challenging, but it's so incredibly rewarding. And great teachers are just so essential to the wealth and health of our health and well-being, of our society.
All right. Ann Larson, Dean of College of Education and Human Development at the University of Louisville. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you, Mark, for the opportunity.
With me is Dr. Rob Friedland. He's a neurology professor at the UofL School of Medicine, and he does research on Alzheimer's disease. Welcome, Dr. Friedland.
Thank you, Mark.
How you doing?
Very good.
All right. Alzheimer's, what is it? Explain it to me in your terms, just kind of in layman's terms. What is Alzheimer's disease?
Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia in the United States. It's responsible for illnesses in about 5 to 6 million people. And dementia is a symptom classification involving loss of memory and many other aspects of cognitive and executive function. Alzheimer's happens to be the commonest cause of that.
Okay. And how many folks in Kentucky, ballpark, or do you know how many?
Several 100,000.
In Kentucky alone?
Yes.
All right. Well, we only got a population of 4 million, so that's a decent percentage.
Yes.
So what's the percentage nationwide, or do you know of people that have it?
About 5 to 10% of people over 65.
And get Alzheimer's. Wow, that's high.
And the risk doubles every 5 years after the age of 65, so it's very much associated with age.
Oh, I'm approaching 65, or I'm getting there pretty close. So, and I do worry. I think all of us that get to be this age worry a little bit about forgetting things and forgetting names. Is that a common occurrence, or should we be concerned and run to Dr. Friedland and get tested?
It's very important for everyone to know that forgetting is a function of the brain, just like remembering is a function of the brain, and it's normal to forget. And forgetting is more common in older persons, and every item that's forgotten is not necessarily a sign of the disease. It depends on what is forgotten, whether it's a trivial or important matter.
I got you. So if I forget your name right now, I've met you and I know you a little bit, and I just forget your name, blank on it as we're talking here, is that a sign that I'm getting Alzheimer's?
Not particularly. If you would to see President Ramsey and call him something else, that might be more of a significant.
And I said, hey,
forgetting.
Dr. Friedland, as I'm waving at Dr. Ramsey, that would be something
Perhaps that would be noteworthy.
of concern. Okay, I got you. All right, well, you're doing some research at the University of Louisville, and I've read a little bit about it, about how environmental factors impact Alzheimer's. So go into a little bit about what you're researching and what you're working on. I talked specifically about the gut bacteria in the intro to you, but what other things are you working on, including this gut bacteria and the link perhaps to Alzheimer's?
Yes. 1% perhaps of all cases of Alzheimer's disease are caused by a single gene. 99% of the time, it's not caused by a single gene, and in those cases, the cause or causes are unknown. We suspect that the problem, which involves the incorrect folding of brain proteins in Alzheimer's as well as Parkinson's and ALS, that problem can be initiated by bacteria that reside in the intestine. And a monumental amount of research done around the world shows that these bacteria, which everyone has, are very important for immunity and metabolism. And we are pursuing the idea that this is also linked to the initiation of protein problems in these neurodegenerative disorders.
And how do you know if you have the right bacteria or the wrong bacteria? Or is there a right bacteria and wrong bacteria? It just impacts people different ways.
That's a very good question. We've done research in animals, both in rats and in nematodes called C. elegans, and we find that feeding certain types of bacteria cause an acceleration of the misfolding problem in neurons and muscle cells in these animals. In humans, the precise kind of bacteria that may be involved are not yet known, but we are researching that in our laboratories along with our collaborators in Cambridge in England and in Japan. However, we do already know that the bacteria that we have are dependent upon what we feed them, and we're feeding them the food that we're eating. And diet is a very important determinant of what bacteria we have. And it is advantageous to eat foods that are high in fiber and relatively low in fat and proteins from meat.
So, all right. So let me back up a little bit. So I've got these bacteria in my gut, and as everybody does.
Yes.
To make them perhaps, I think what you're saying, to make them perhaps behave poorly and contribute to perhaps me getting Alzheimer's, I have to feed them, or we think perhaps I have to feed them fatty foods and stuff that's bad for me. And if I don't, if I have a low-fat diet, lots of fiber, I may not activate those bacteria. Is that correct? Or
yes.
Okay.
Regardless of what you eat, there will be bacteria.
Right.
But the bacterial populations, we're not talking about a single strain, but many, many thousands of populations, different bacteria, as well as fungi. They're dependent on our diet. And if you have a high-fat, meat-based diet, you have bacteria that are relatively more inflammatory and that enhance the risk of heart disease and stroke and Alzheimer's disease. If you have a diet with less meat and more fiber, fruit and vegetables, beans and brown rice, and legumes and fruit, you have bacteria that lead to a more anti-inflammatory pattern that is more protective against heart disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's.
We're talking to Dr. Rob Friedland, who's a neurology professor at the UofL School of Medicine and does research on Alzheimer's disease. It really is amazing how much diet impacts total health, doesn't it? I mean, you can listen to your doctor say 1,000,000 times, you got to have a better diet, dude. But, until you hear, hey, this may lead to Alzheimer's or potentially lead to Alzheimer's if you don't eat better, that kind of hits you at home, doesn't it?
Exactly. And the other parts I don't want to ignore are dental health is important because there are also bacteria that reside in the mouth. And head injury is bad for the brain at any age of life. It's also important for people to be physically active throughout life.
So I had a lousy diet when I was younger. I got a good diet now. I played football without a helmet when I was younger. So what you're telling me is I'm in bad shape for the future here as I roll towards age 65.
Well, hopefully you're not riding a motorcycle without a helmet.
No, I'm not doing that.
And you're not playing football any longer.
No, I'm not playing football any longer. No one would want to see me play football any longer. And what about the dental? Give a little bit more about that. Is that, again, a bacteria thing?
We all have bacteria in the mouth as well, and we can't remove them. We don't want to eliminate them, but we don't want them to have a party.
Meaning what?
Meaning we don't want them having a good time. We want them to be constantly watching out for their survival. So we need to floss every day and brush twice a day at least, and go to the dentist 2 or 3 times a year to have cleaning, and avoid periodontitis, which is the most common dental infection, which is a risk factor for heart disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's disease.
I think what I heard you say at the top of this interview was that only 1% of Alzheimer's patients, it was determined by their gene, correct?
Yes.
So that's hereditary.
That's right, in those cases.
All right. So only 1% of Alzheimer's patients are getting it from their parents.
That's right.
Is that fair? And the other 99% is just random.
Well, the common explanation now is it's random, and I'm saying it's not random. It's associated with your lifestyle. It's related to how many head injuries you've had and how you've been eating, what physical and mental activities you've had throughout life.
Gotcha. Okay. So, I think everybody's read those studies, though. There's been other studies that seem to indicate that that Alzheimer's is more tied to heredity, isn't there?
Absolutely. There's another kind of a gene which is not causative. It's a risk factor gene. It's called apolipoprotein E, and it's associated with lipid metabolism, which is a good sign that also, from a genetic point of view, it's good to have a low-fat diet. However, this gene is only for risk, so it increases the risk if you have it, but it doesn't cause the disease. So many people who have this risk factor gene, if they have a healthy lifestyle, they may avoid the disease.
Gotcha. All right. Dr. Rob Friedland, thanks for being on the program. One final note from you about Alzheimer's. What advice would you have to folks that may be listening to this program?
I would like them to support the research that's going on at the University of Louisville in our labs, along with our collaborators that are seeking to uncover the vital factors that cause Alzheimer's disease, so we know how it can be prevented and eliminated.
Very good. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Rob Friedland, neurology professor at the UofL School of Medicine. All right, we always try and wrap up these programs with a Did You Know segment, a little bit of trivia about the University of Louisville. So today's UofL trivia, all incoming freshmen at UofL are required to take a web-based alcohol awareness program and another web-based program on sexual assault prevention. Alcohol EDU/Haven is used at 500 institutions nationwide, including 4 others in Kentucky. They are Murray State, Center, Bellarmine, and the University of Kentucky. So that'll pretty much wrap up the show for today. You can listen to these shows on soundcloud.com/EDU. You can watch them on Metro TV, which is the government access channel here in Louisville. That's 5 times a week. And on KET3 Thursdays at 5 o'clock. And if you see WHAS TV on Monday mornings around 9:30 or so, you can probably see me with another video story about something new in research, academics, or student life at the University of Louisville. That's on Great Day Live with Rachel Platt and Terry Miners. So again, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening, and go Cards.